Hey everyone, welcome to the Last Movie Run podcast. I'm your host, Josh Gilliam. I'm joined this week by Alex Cantor.
Hey guys.
This week we'll be talking about Gladiator 2 as well as Red 1, but not before we talk about the news of the week. We have some numbers for some new shows that have come out, and of course we have a bunch of trailers that dropped like Minecraft movie and Sonic 3. And with that, Alex, let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
Alex, thank you for coming back on the show. I'm glad we didn't drive you away, and your audio's better this time. It's a crazy world we live in.
Here.
All right, let's jump right into the news. Mortal Kombat 2 has received an R rating. This shouldn't have come as a surprise to anyone since the first one was rated R. Also, it's Mortal Kombat. How are they not going to make it R?
Yeah, I think it would be news if it was rated like PG-13 or something. That would be shocking. But
yeah,
no surprise.
And this is supposed to be the one that actually gets into the Mortal Kombat, because the last one was like pre-Mortal Kombat. I don't know if you remember the plot of the first one.
No, I'm not as up to date on my Mortal Kombat lore as you are, or as you may be.
Did you watch the first movie?
You've also got me there.
Damn. That's
well,
fine.
I think the only experience I've had with Mortal Kombat is playing a bit of Mortal Kombat 11, which seemed like a fun game. But again, I don't know much about the plot of it.
Yeah, I think that's the one you and I played together like 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah, so it has an R rating, and that's, I don't even think it's filming yet. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it though. Alex, Moana, the live action remake, has gotten some set images. Have you seen these?
Yes, I saw these set images. I think I'd heard about this before the set images came out, but it was like making a. I thought I had my news mixed up. They're like making a live action Moana, and I was like, they must mean Moana 2, because I also heard about that.
Yeah.
But I guess lots of Moana stuff all going on.
Yeah, so they've just released Moana 2, and at the same time they're going to make a live action reboot of the first Moana movie, because I guess The Rock kind of returned to his pool of like, oh, I need to do some things that work because everyone hates me and I'm not doing anything anyone likes. So they had to move it around, because I feel like this didn't come out long enough ago to deserve a live action remake. I feel like that was 8 years ago.
I agree. With doing the trend of like remaking old, say Disney animated movies or whatever into live action ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are other movies that I would have expected to be remade before Moana.
Yeah, I feel like they're doing Lilo and Stitch, but that came out like 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Frozen, I think, came out before Moana did, and that was such like a massive hit. If you're picking movies to make, maybe it's easier to make a movie about the ocean than it is about snow. I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. The Rock, it's just a lot of tattoos on him, and he's just wide. Like, and I guess he's nailing the role, but I don't know. It looks whatever to me. Alex, you ready for this piece of news? The Kingsman franchise is dead in the water.
The Kingsman franchise is dead in the water. Oh my God.
Yeah, so this actually, this news came out in October. I was just not paying attention to it. But basically, when asked, the head of whoever it was, I don't have the article in front of me, I apologize. They basically came out and said that there are no further plans to advance the Kingsman franchise, whether that be in sequels or prequels. How do you feel about that?
I really like the Kingsman movies. I just thought they're fun to watch. I like the prequel as well. A cool twist. I mean,
So this,
I didn't hear much about them announce. Yeah, I didn't hear much about them announcing one in the first place. I guess that they, decided and no one had asked them up until this point. But I would be happy to go see another one for sure.
yeah, that seemed to be a lot of people's sentiment. Like, the second one didn't do as well as the first, but I wanted to see that third movie because that was in production for a hot minute, and then it just kind of stalled, and then the King's Man didn't perform as well as they wanted, and it just kind of died.
Did it really not? I mean, I remember I went to see Kingsman. I thought it was pretty good, but I guess not what they're hoping. Maybe if the trend is down, like everyone loved the first one, slightly less people like the second one, about the same like the third one. They're like, okay, it's not worth making another. But I mean, I enjoyed the universe of Kingsman.
Yeah, they were on a bit of a downhill spiral. I mean, the King's Man grossed $125 million worldwide, which you would think would be, you know, insane, but that was the lowest performing one of the bunch. Yeah, these have been scrapped at the moment. Hopefully they come back to them. That's all that was said is, there's no further plans. That's not to say someone's going to come out in like 10 years and be like, it's time to reboot this. Hopefully we see that. Alex, November 29th was the fourth highest single day box office revenue ever.
That is crazy to me. I thought it would be, you know, some early June summer blockbuster opening weekend that would be bringing just so many people in. But then I was thinking about it after you told me this, and I think it's probably because the what came out like Wicked, Gladiator,
Moana 2.
Moana 2 came out the
Yep.
weekend. Like just all those movies have very different. There were people who made see all three, but they're not competing with each other. The same people who are like super hyped for Gladiator might not necessarily be as hyped, or super hyped for the same as people are hyped for Wicked
Yeah.
or for Moana 2 or whatever.
Yeah. I feel like they kind of did encompass this all around perfect. Like we have a Wicked for like I know so many girls who wanted to go see Wicked and so many theater kids, and all the
Hmm.
dudes wanted to see Gladiator too. And then you have this kid movie with Moana. So they
Yeah.
kind of encompass the whole thing there.
I don't know if it's intentional, but yeah, I get none of them are competing with each other. Then, if you have two summer blockbuster movies opening, that those two will compete with each other, maybe. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So on November 29th, Black Friday, they pulled in $106.7 million in single day box office
Wow.
revenue.
All three of them together. Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And that falls behind the third highest grossing day, December 26, 2015, which I think was The Force Awakens had come out at $109
Okay.
million, followed by April 26th, 2019, 110 million, and April 27th, 2019, 129 million. So those two were back to back. I believe that was the release of Avengers Endgame.
Oh, I see. Those are both the same movie. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's
well, yeah. I
the
guess,
26th and then the 27th.
yes, that
So
one's, I guess, just twice you off
uh
anyone else.
very impressive, frankly, that
Hmm.
we did that with three movies, and I only saw one of them. All right. Frank Grillo, who played Crossbones in the MCU, or Captain America: The Winter Soldier is what I know him from, but he will be playing Sergeant Rick Flag Sr. in the new DC universe. He's in Creature Commandos. He's supposed to be in the new Superman movie. He says he has seen the Superman trailer and he said it's incredible. That's it. That's all I got for that one.
I mean, that's good news as well. Is he in the new Superman, or do people think he
Yes, he is
is?
supposed to be the in the new Superman movie
Mm.
because this is like they encompass animation, live action, and video games. It's supposed to be like the overarching you signed on to play this character in all the different mediums.
Oh, I see. Interesting. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
So he's voicing
Yeah.
this
I
character
mean,
in Creature Commandos at the moment, and then he'll go and play him in live action Superman.
hmm. Yeah, I like that way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's good news to hear. I'm excited for the Superman movie.
It
It's
looks
good
really
from all
good.
the promotional material and stuff. Yeah.
And Alex, my last piece of news here is kind of two things. Two different shows have come out while we've been dragging our feet to record this. Um, Skeleton Crew has come out, and Creature Commandos, like we said, has also released. So the first two episodes of Skeleton Crew came out, and I don't know if you've had a chance to see this. I sat down and watched it. I really enjoyed Skeleton Crew actually. The first two
Okay, I
episodes,
remember
that
us
is.
talking about it the last time was on because I was on. I think the
Mm-hmm.
trailer had just come out or something.
Yeah.
So, we talked about it then, and I yeah was excited for it. I think I called it like a Goonies but
Yeah, you
Star
said it
Wars.
was the Goonies in space.
But I haven't seen them. But I mean, I remember being excited for it. So I'll sit down
Well,
and
guess
watch
what?
those.
It is just the Goonies in space.
Perfect. Exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah, it was really good. The Rotten Tomato scores on this guy, 96% tomato meter. Audience score is sitting at an 81. So people are enjoying this,
Hmm.
which is good after the horrific backlash from the Acolyte. Star Wars needed a win, I think.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's good story, I guess.
Yeah, and I hope it keeps keeps some positive momentum as it goes along. And then Alex Creature Commandos came out, to very similar but just slightly lower reviews. I've not had a chance to see this,
Hmm.
and you were just telling me you hadn't had a chance to see it.
I want to see it. I have not had a chance to, but I want to. Mostly
Okay.
because I've been seeing clips of it on like Instagram and it
Mm-hmm.
looks good. That's where I get most of my news from.
Instagram.
So that tells me all I need to know is yeah, is Instagram. Um,
Perfect.
Now we just need to get sponsored by them.
By
Um,
HBO or Instagram.
by Instagram, HBO as well, if they want to throw
Okay.
something our way. But yeah, I do want to see Creature Commandos, and I will.
HBO, if you throw us $5, we'll give you the most glowing review of everything you put on your platform.
Yes, yes.
All right. So Creature Commandos on the tomato meter is sitting at a 94% and audience score of 80. So looking at a low
Oh,
B.
yeah, that is pretty much the same. Yeah.
Yeah, so both shows seem to be doing well. I think you and I will both be watching Creature Commandos. Skeleton Crew was very good. The little elephant guy, Neil, is the best. He just wants to follow the rules and he's like, whoa, what about my parents? Also, there's a part where he's in a bubble bath.
Okay.
All right, Alex, that's all I have for news this week. So let's get into trailers. The Minecraft movie trailer dropped. I'm sorry, a Minecraft movie trailer dropped.
Yes, I did see this second Minecraft movie trailer. Really leaning into the meme,
Yeah, right?
like children yearn for the mines.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
That was a
first
Reddit
joke
post
they
from
make in
like
that
3 years
trailer.
ago.
Yeah, yeah,
I
um,
don't know. It looks fine.
yeah. It looks fine. I mean, there's a lot of hatred for the first one, I think, right? I haven't heard much
Yeah.
about the second one,
That first
but
trailer was not received well, and I think it's because of that media storm of like Jack Black was kind of in the crosshairs of hatred for that one.
oh, yeah, you're right. I'm not at the same time, didn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they made any changes or they just redesigned the trailer. I can't remember how long it's been since the first one dropped,
It's
but
been
it looks,
like two
yeah, it looks all
months.
right.
hmm
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
don't even think that
Yeah,
they
that's what I
changed a
remember.
lot. They just showed more, and I feel like with this one,
Mhm.
people aren't hating it as much, and it's because it's had more time to like simmer as like
You're
the
right. Like
backlash
everyone
isn't
complaining
as
about the
bad.
artwork and stuff at first. Yeah,
Yeah. Like I
but we'll
don't
see.
think they changed anything. It's just people are like, it's gonna be whatever. And I think they're just rolling with it. It's not like Sonic, where Sonic looked nightmarishly horrible. They're like,
Yeah,
fuck,
and that was enough backlash. Yeah.
we gotta lock in, we gotta redesign this whole thing. Um, I don't know. It looks fine. There's I like how Jack Black Steve, when he's a kid, wears that sweater. When he's an adult, he's in the same sweater. Does he own the one article of
I
clothing?
did, I did not notice that.
Yeah, the little kid, little kid Jack Black. He's like in the blue sweater with a pickaxe. And when he grows up, it's the exact same fit. He just has a beard. Talking about how he yearns for the mines.
You're into the lines.
But that'll be out April 4th, 2025. Will we cover it on this podcast? God, probably.
No
Um,
matter what, we have to watch it.
How to Train Your Dragon dropped a new trailer. Well, actually, it dropped its first
Yes,
trailer.
that is.
Actually,
I
looks really good.
uh I am excited. I love How to Train Your Dragon. I love the soundtrack. It's like every so often, like every couple of months, I'll just be like, man, I love the music from that, and then I'll just play like the song where he goes flying for the first time.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever sat down and listened to the How to Train Your Dragon soundtrack. Is it really that good?
It is really that good. Maybe it's nostalgia. I don't know, but either way, I'm excited for this live action remake. I mean, most of it like shot for shot,
Yeah, it looks
trailer.
really good. Like the CGI looks incredible, which I guess is the one thing they need to
Hmm.
nail down. Because
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
that first anime movie had like 4 sets, like locations. So I guess they didn't need to like go crazy on the set budget. But yeah, I think it looks incredible. Toothless looks really good. And then Alex, you have any more thoughts on How to Train Your Dragon?
I cannot wait to see it.
I can't
Maybe
either.
I'll
I
go listen to the soundtrack right now after this podcast because we just talked about it. That's what happens. It's been a couple of months, so I'll be listening to it after this.
maybe I'll do the same. And that'll be out June 13th, 2025. Moving on to our last trailer, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 got another trailer, like an extended one. It still looks good. I don't think anyone was
Yes,
complaining
Jim
about
Carrey
this
keeps coming
movie.
back for a reason. All right.
Yeah, it's like the only movie he's currently coming
He
back for.
yes, he knows what a good movie is. And is he playing himself twice?
Yes, he is
Okay,
playing
I was pretty sure that's what I was seeing, and
he's playing Robotnik, and then he's playing like Robotnik's grandpa.
yeah. I mean, it's a fun movie to be excited for. Yeah,
Yeah.
looks good.
They're doing it looks like they're following Sonic Adventures 2 more closely, which is fine. I've played that game. It was good. Unfortunately, it's tied down by there's a YouTube channel who does like dubs of games, and they went through and did Sonic Adventures 2. So now I'm incapable of thinking about that game without thinking of it. So there's a part in that trailer where he like lasers the moon in half. And unfortunately they dubbed over that part in the game where he's like, "Look at my super laser. I'm going to piss on the moon." So that's all I can think of when watching this trailer
Oh my god.
is the stupid dub. And I've talked to a couple different people who that it's the same thing. So is this just going to be a massive meme movie?
I hope so. It'd be fun to watch if it was. No, look, they've come a long way since that first trailer. Okay.
Yeah, they
Sonic
really have.
is a movie franchise. So yeah, that's it's nothing like groundbreakingly cinematic. Although we'll see what Jim Carrey can do. But it's gonna be a fun movie, I think. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think it looks good too. And that's all I have for trailers. We kind of trucked it along. I didn't have a ton of news, and the trailers have been out. This episode got a little delayed because of Thanksgiving. I don't know what I was thinking trying to squeeze all that and everything from Thanksgiving and doing a
Well,
podcast
you should have
into
just
the
thrown
same
out
week.
everything from Thanksgiving. So
You're right. I should have locked in on this actually.
yeah, yeah. Have your priorities straight. Come on now.
So let's get into the big headliner on this episode, Gladiator 2. I love this movie. Should we hit a quick spoiler free review of this? And
Let's hit a quick spoiler-free review of
you and
this.
I will want to talk spoilers on this one.
I think that I disagree with you, actually. That it was all right. Here's what I think. The
Lay it on me.
truth is, I hated the first half of that movie.
Yes, I know
But
you
I
did.
love the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked out of the movie annoyed because I was like, this could have been so great, but it was held back. I think the primary reason it was held back is because it had to be Gladiator 2. So like they had these super interesting characters, all played by amazing actors, and by the time I get to the end, now I'm like invested in these characters and their storylines and stuff like that. But I felt like they had to make so many sort of loose, hand wavy, suspend your disbelief connections between all of them at the beginning to tie it back to Gladiator 1.
I could see that. Yeah.
Like yeah. So I mean, I think it'd be so. I mean, it had to be tied back, but it would just been a cool movie about the Roman Empire to see. I think if and then they could have done so much more with the character work and
Hmm.
scenes that built them up rather than just having to do flashbacks to 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I mean, I love this movie because what I was mainly looking at is like all the intense battle sequences because it's Gladiator. I'm not entirely here for the plot, but even
No, I agree. I agree.
I thought the plot held up in its own. I get there were some jumps they had to make, like you were saying, to kind of connect everything, but ultimately I didn't mind it because I knew this wasn't going to like live up to the first one. I figured they'd have to do something like that. So I kind of went in with that expectation, was like really pleasantly surprised with how everything came together.
Okay. Well, look, if I read like the synopsis of a book and it was describing like the characters that I'm going to see, because this was mostly about so many different characters. There wasn't. I mean, there was sort of one main character, right?
Yeah.
Um, but the supporting characters held quite an important role, and there were scenes of just them.
Hmm.
So if I was reading the synopsis of the book and it was like, gladiator who wants revenge, general who's tired of war, two crazy emperors, like I don't know what um Denzel Washington's character was, someone hungry for power, whatever. Um, I would have been like, this is gonna be, I'm gonna love reading this book. This is gonna be fantastic. And you know, I'm inside to see how it translates to a movie with the budget that they can have and the CGI and the awesome battles in the Coliseum. Um, but it wasn't like introducing Gladiator who wants revenge, crazed emperors. It was just, oh, let's explain how this gladiator got to where he is because Gladiator won. Let's explain how this man who wants power got to where he is because somehow he knew Russell Crowe's character. So I was like, okay, well, I have to sort of be like, yeah, okay, I guess they knew him that way, and this. Instead, I could just be like, yeah, right, whatever. I could be introduced to these characters the first time and gotten invested in them without having to be tied back to the first one. Is my take. But
Yeah.
I loved the second half of the movie. They had some sick fights. Once I like stopped
Oh yeah.
caring about how they got there in the first place, I was like, yeah, sure, fight on a boat. Hell yeah, that was my sentiment.
Yeah. I thought the ending of this was really strong. I thought everything, how they kind of, like you've been saying, how they tie all these characters' narratives together is really done like masterfully.
Yes, exactly. That was such insane writing. I thought I was like, oh my god, and then just to kill them off. Oh,
Hmm.
spoilers. Shit, everyone
Good.
lives. But the way they tie the characters together, I was like, shit is getting real. Like, oh my god, it's not just like uh, you know, Paul Mescal, his character, like, being the main character all the time. It's like everyone else sort of has their own scenes and their own stories, and well, it makes you more invested in it. If they just like thrown these characters at me and had said like, okay, sure, whatever, that would have been I come from the beginning be like, okay, I don't have any prior connection to him. Let's just see where these characters go. Like I'm not expecting to have to know about these characters in the beginning. But instead I was like, oh well, okay, we have to have some backstory scenes of how he was, the son of this person, this person, and this person knows this person. And I was like, okay, well, just give these characters to me.
Yeah.
I don't care about the hand and grabbing sand flashbacks and references to the first one. Not really. It was 20 years ago. I haven't watched it.
Yeah. There were quite a few flashbacks in this to like kind of bridge those gaps. I thought what they really needed to do was just at the very beginning, like the opening title sequence is a really well done flashback of the original, and it kind of runs you through it. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you ran me through it. And now we're gonna roll. And then they did their fair share of flashbacks. But I really thought the casting in this was so strong. I think that's really what holds us together is all the actors in this movie. I don't
Absolutely.
think I'd
Absolutely.
seen Paul Mescal in anything before this, but I'm really like I was blown away by his performance.
Yes, he did a great job. And the supporting cast had such strong characters. I
Hmm.
actually really liked the Emperors. I thought they, yeah,
Yeah,
did a good
yeah.
job.
This
I mean, okay, I'll say my favorite character, I think, even though you're not supposed to be liking him, was, and sometimes he just did weird stuff, was Denzel Washington's character.
Yeah,
sometimes he'd be like just stick his tongue out and go like bah or whatever.
they all did that. I loved
But
it.
whatever. Yeah, it was still fun to watch. I would have liked Pedro Pascal's General Ecclesias to be sort of expanded on more, you know.
Yeah, right. That's one of the things I wish
But
from this is they had really locked in on Pedro Pascal's character because his arc
yes,
was really interesting.
his arc is really interesting, and all these scenes where where it's just spent him like I don't know. I would have loved more of that. And it's him like weary of war, him talking to the generals, or the plot. And all of a sudden he has like one half a scene, and he's ready to overthrow the emperors. And I was like, okay, well, I would like there are many reasons you could come up with them for doing that if that's the plot point you want to get to. But you know,
Yeah. No,
I was just like, oh, okay, I guess we're overthrowing it now.
the
So that
emperors
was
as
good.
well. One of them is played by Joseph Quinn, and I was excited to see this because Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn were both cast to lead the Fantastic Four movie. So I wanted to see how they interacted
Oh,
because they're both going to be like on a team in a Marvel movie, and that's kind of our bread and butter here on this podcast is superhero
I
shit.
see. Who's Joseph Quinn playing in the Fantastic Four?
He's the Human Torch.
Oh shoot. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I thought he played this character incredibly. I thought it was so
Yeah.
entertaining to watch
Yeah,
him.
I thought he did as well. Yeah, that's really good. That's promising. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Alex, before we get into spoilers, how would you rate this out of 3 stars?
I would give this a high two. Sure, by the end I was enjoying it and I walked out of the theater happy, but for the reasons I said, I think it could have been better. It wasn't like a bad movie. By the end I was hyped. But yeah. So I'll say a mid to high two.
I was willing to give this a 3 and then I went back and watched original Gladiator.
Really?
Yeah, I would give it like a high 2, like almost teetering on a 3, but watching that original Gladiator movie did bump it down a bit. All right.
I think it may be just below you. I still wasn't sold on some of the
Yeah.
suspension of disbelief you have to do.
All right. All right, Alex, let's get into some spoilers.
We can get into spoilers. Look,
First thing I want to talk about is Pedro Pascal because like we said, we both would have liked to see more from him in this movie and his attempt to overthrow the empire.
yes. I mean, like when he um has the whole fight scene with Lucius and dies, um, I was like, oh shit. Because I think he's the first like big side character death, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, this is getting real. Like they're not afraid to, kill off the characters. And I
Mm-hmm.
would have an even bigger, like, oh shit moment if I'd seen more of his story throughout the thing. It was more of like a wow, like they just killed this guy off than like, oh my God, I really liked. I was like, oh, I like that character, but I didn't know as much about him as I would have wanted to make that moment more powerful.
Yeah, I really wanted to see his plan succeed in overthrowing the empire and making it a free roam for all, but instead we got uh, Denzel Washington selling him out and everyone getting
Yes,
captured. And
which
like
I
it kicked off the rest of the movie, but still it kind of sucked. I was like, damn, I want to see this guy succeed.
yes, but then it made Denzel Washington being a villain and how crazy the emperors are and like the tone of the movie that much more powerful because you're thinking, oh, he's gonna succeed, and then you're like, oh my God, they're gonna fight each other. What's gonna happen? Oh, I don't want them to kill each other, even though I hate each other. And then they decide not to, and then you just get shot with arrows anyway. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it kind of made the threat of Denzel Washington character all the more real.
Yeah. And speaking of Denzel Washington, he really does go for a very open power grab. I mean, he really inserts himself into the emperor's day to day and really is manipulating the one who's absolutely insane.
Yeah, which I thought was cool. They have this. It was like a full-on story, all these character lines all brought together. It wasn't like I was like, dang, that could a movie could have done with more time. It was pretty long, wasn't it? 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But I was like, even with all these storylines they have to balance and all these scenes they got to include and all these flashbacks to the first movie, they still did it in the enough to make it a crazy long movie. I think was fine with the amount of time it took. So I was really impressed. I mean, by all
Yeah.
the character performances as well.
Yeah. A lot of people die in this. I mean, I think there's only the only person who walks away from this is the main guy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Except I don't know because what happens at the end? I don't know. Right? He goes to the afterlife or something like that.
Yeah, that was weird. We'll talk about that in just a second. Yeah, so it starts off like his wife dies. I knew his wife was gonna die. They're doing Gladiator
Oh
2.
my
That's
God.
what happened in the first one.
They're doing the sheets waving in the wind and her smile. I'm like, okay, I've seen this 100,000 times.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh
like stuff like I was annoyed about was like what the to make these plot lines work and have the characters know each other. Pedro Pascal has to be like in the one square of this giant city, and the archer has to, his wife has to kill someone next to him, and Pedro Pascal, General Ecclesias sees it, points her out, says you, enough archers here to hit her with a bunch of arrows. And it was just like I was like, okay, sure, I guess. But it kind of took me out of an awesome fight scene to being like, oh yeah, this is totally something that would happen in this order. Maybe.
yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I think the other thing that sort of took me out of it was when you watch Gladiator 1, Russell Crowe, right? Starts with everything. Like he's running the army, he's just doing a great job, he's friends with the Emperor, and then you see him lose it all. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, this sucks. And he's like, fighting to get his, and he's being mistreated, whatever, fighting to his way, get out of the gladiator pits, get his revenge. Um, and then like Paul Mescal, his grief and losing everything is you meet two characters that are pretty clear are going to die just from the way you're introduced to them.
Yeah, right.
So you have no attachment to them in the first place. Then they die. Yeah, okay, saw that coming. And then he has like a moment on a ship where you see him processing his grief, and then it's just like a bunch of his scenes of like him being singled out for being a great fighter, him earning everyone's respect. He's not like beaten and mistreated. He's like super toned and well fed and looking great all the time. And it took me out of the like, man, this guy's lost everything. I see his grief because he's just like, looking really good for the camera. I'm like, okay, well, sure.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like leaving the theater, I was like, damn, that was incredible. And then I watched First Gladiator and I was like, well, Paul Mescal wasn't really doing gladiator shit, was he? He was treated like a general more than he was a gladiator.
Right?
But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, yeah, the minute his wife came on screen, I was like, dead, dead. You cannot kiss someone through a sheet like
Yeah.
that and not have that character die minimum 20 minutes later. His like tribe leader friend, um, I was also like, he's either going to come to the arena with him or die immediately, but either way, he will not make it out of the first act. And sure enough, he got like a
Yep.
arm wound on a boat. And I was like, oh, the minute he's in an arena, he's dead. And sure enough, he didn't even fight. He like knelt down and just took it
Yeah,
when they're
exactly.
fighting
And then
monkeys.
and then
And
which is also a
then
weird CGI fight. Listen,
yeah,
I think that, and this also, I think this has spoilers in it. Actually, you know how you get spoiled for Gladiator 2 is you go see Gladiator 1. There's your spoilers. Half the scenes, or it feels like half the scenes, are either like a black and white, literal 5-second clip from the first movie to remind you,
yeah,
or it's like Lucius picking up sand the same way um, Russell Crowe did, or like he's standing there and he's like, break when he charges or something, which is also I think a line from the first movie. Or
yeah,
just like yeah, get spoiled for Gladiator 2 by watching Gladiator 1 because it's either that exact scene or that scene mimicked so that you know uh someone high in the stands can identify you as Maximus's son.
yeah. And I was about to bring that up. Of course, we do get the reveal that Paul Mescal is Russell Crowe's son. I don't know. That was like nothing to me. I saw that coming a mile away. The minute they like handed him the ring in the trailer, I was like, "Oh, so it's his kid. It's either some random dude or his kid." But like I saw that reveal. I saw it coming.
Yes, I think they have to make that connection to make all these characters at such different stations of life come together. But
Hmm.
um also, does this mean he cheated on his wife with his
Yes.
sister? I don't. There's some weird ethical things going on to make him his son that I'm not sure about.
I don't know. I was kind of watching the first one in the background, and I must have missed that part because I did not remember any of that. So,
Yeah. Well, he had
um,
like a wife and kids, right? That was the whole
yeah.
thing, is they died.
Hmm.
And then also he had a kid who was a similar age to the two kids that died, I think, but with someone else. What's going on
Yeah.
there? Don't ask too many questions. Go watch Gladiator 2 and
Russell
suspend your
Crowe, bad
disbelief through the
dude.
first half because it gets good.
Yeah. We talked about Denzel Washington, how we loved watching his uprise. I loved Joseph Quinn chewing all the scenery and just like freaking out in the arena as the emperor. I thought that was great where he's just like sticking his tongue out and he's like, "Let the games begin." Like I thought he was
Yes,
great.
right? It seemed like the characters are having fun playing the characters, or the sorry, the actors had fun playing the characters, or we're just told to like, yeah, make them unique. You know, you got all these
Yeah.
powerhouses of acting together, and you think that they're going to compete in a way that detracts from the movie, but really it brings it to a greater whole. I
Yeah,
feel like
I
I'm
loved it.
flip-flopping. I either say something I don't like about this movie, and I'm like, it was horrible, or I'm like, they all did. This was fantastic. That's why it's a high two. I make mixed reviews, but I
Yeah,
am the singular mixed review because I keep
right.
flip-flopping on it.
Well, maybe you'll come to a conclusion here in a moment. I think I'd like to wrap up spoilers and move on. But first, we must talk about the ending because obviously
Okay.
he
Yes.
kills Denzel Washington. He unites the armies of Rome. No one knows. We don't find out if he's in charge or not. He's just kind of he goes back to his the arena where he's like, my mom died here. My dad died there 20 years ago. And he picks up some sand and he's like, speak to me. And then we get the cut of like the wheat field. But the only time we ever got that in the first movie was when Maximus died. So
Yes. And also, hasn't Lucius seen death, kind of,
yeah.
right? Crossing the
Yeah, because
river
he
is a
was
whole different scene. So
yeah, he was
I
watching
was
his
like,
wife.
okay, well, may, yeah, maybe that's. I was like, is that actually what's going on? Are we getting mystical, or is this just him having visions? And then the Wheatfield thing was again. I guess like maybe they had to come up with an ending. It was just. I mean, I was like, yeah. By that point, right? I'd sort of being like, yeah, whatever. Sure, make those connections for the most of the movie. So time to got to the end, I was like, yeah, whatever. You're in a wheat field. You just drowned a guy. Do whatever you want, man.
I was really shocked by that because it had been so grounded up until that point. Um and then we get this like mystical heaven scene for some reason. Like I thought he was going to be like, speak to me, father, and then we cut to him like being a king of Rome or something. But no, instead it just ends there. And it's like, did he die? Did he fall over like Maximus did in the first movie? Did he is he insane? Is a part of me was like, is it about to like force ghost show Russell Crowe and him be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm proud of you, son. And like that's how the movie ends. I was really confused.
Yeah, yes. I was also confused by it. I see where you're coming from.
Um I don't know. It genuinely took me out of the movie. I thought that was such an incredible film. And then the last 4 minutes played. I'm like, what is happening?
Really, I thought the first half of the film took me out of the movie. And by the second half, I was all for it. You know, compared to like, yeah, I mean, him waking up and seeing a super clear image of his wife saying, "I'll wait for you" on the boat crossing the thing. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, sure, that's happening. So we got to the
Yeah.
end, I was like, yeah, okay, some wheat fields, why not? So I think I was less shocked, and it took me out of it less because of
You had
stuff
given
I'd already
up.
seen, so to speak. I had given up at that point. I was like, yeah, whatever. Have a make a Game of Thrones, bring some dragons in, do whatever you
Oh,
want.
they should have done that. Game of Thrones Gladiator
Yeah,
crossover. I don't
that
know.
would be amazing.
I mean, the this was in development hell forever. They wanted to do Gladiator 2 for a long time, and one of the ideas they had was like sending Maximus back down. Like he would meet Zeus, or I think in Roman culture it's Jupiter. It doesn't matter. He was gonna meet Roman Zeus and he was gonna send him back down to Earth to like fight Hephaestus or something. Like he was
Okay,
just
well,
gonna
I
become
think
a
then
demigod. Like everything was gonna be ridiculous.
if that's where the bar is, then then this movie did a great job.
This movie was incredible if that's where the original plan was. Yeah. All right. Alex, are you ready to move on and talk about what you think might be the movie of the year and what I think is a steaming hot pile of dog shit?
Look,
Red One.
nowhere did I say movie of the year. I think it was a good movie. All
Okay.
right. I think you're coming for it unnecessarily.
No, I think this
But
movie sucked.
I will let you speak on it first, and maybe you'll mellow out my goodness of it.
So we'll start. I don't even know if we can start spoiler free. I don't know what spoilers are in this. Um, so I'm just gonna start off and say I hated this movie. By the end of this, I was laughing hysterically at it because, like you with Gladiator, I'd given up and I was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like I couldn't take it seriously as a movie anymore. I've noticed the more notes I take on these movies when I go to the theaters, because now that I have a podcast, I'm that guy who sits in the theater with his phone out scribbling notes. The more notes I take, the worse the movie is. Like Gladiator, I barely took anything. Red One, it is like a mile long. It is a mile long list.
Right.
I have a lot of thoughts on this movie. I don't think it was good. I think The Rock was bad in it. I think Chris Evans is a phenomenal actor who was given nothing to do in this movie. The best part of this film is J.K. Simmons, and that's just because he's bench pressing as Santa Claus. I think the
Look,
plot's paper
was
thin.
was it a stupid movie? Yes. But it's a Christmas movie. Sure, it was released in November. Let's not talk about that. And maybe the budget was horribly spent and it crashed and burned at the box office, and they didn't need to give like $200 million to Dwayne Johnson or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But, but what does, I'm getting philosophical here. I think every good Christmas movie has like some things the kids watching it will find funny, some sort of more like adulty jokes that they can laugh at. You know, funky storyline, Christmas spirit saves the day, suspend your disbelief because it's fine, it's Christmas. You're not like analyzing the movie. Did this have all of those? Yes, it did. Yes,
Okay.
it did. And that's why I think it was sure, maybe it wasn't a good, maybe don't go see it, in at the cinema or whatever. Save your $20 or however much tickets are now.
I
Save your
think I
save
went
your
and saw this for
750.
$2.
But oh my God. If it's $2, go, why not? No, I just think that like yeah, if I don't know if it's gonna beat out classic Christmas movies, but is it a stupid fun Christmas movie to go watch? Yeah. I don't have any hatred to it. I was like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. Krampus slap him. That's funny. Ha ha ha. Just some stupid jokes, some weird plot devices. I think probably they didn't need to spend as much on this movie as they did, but I'm not
No, they
complaining,
didn't.
right? I thought it was it's
There was an insane misallocation of funds that happened
yes,
for
that's not
this
necessarily a
movie.
bad thing if you get to see some like a stupid premise but some like crazy CGI to have for a stupid movie like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was actually surprised with some of like everything in this movie looked good. Even there's like a snowman fight sequence that I was like, it doesn't even look bad. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yes. All right. I just think like, did this movie need to be made? No.
No.
Was this movie stupid? No. Or sorry, yes.
Yes.
Did they need to spend as much money on actors and CGI as they did? Absolutely not. Am I happy they did? Yes, because like, coming out of like Gladiator 2 and grand sweeping cinematic things, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. Let's go see a, stupid movie about Chris Evans and saving the day with the Christmas spirit and whatever. Yeah, there was some like, plot holes. I'm not analyzing as critically as I was Gladiator 2. That's because what you go in expecting. You go in expecting, incredible story and guys fighting in Gladiator 2. And if the plot sequences are weird and the fights don't make sense, then you criticize. You don't go into a Christmas movie criticizing a lot. You're like, was it funny? Was it stupid? Was Santa in it? Check, 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 check. Why
Maybe
not?
that's because maybe this is why we have such reversed ideas of this movie. You saw Gladiator 2 first. So you went
Yes, I
in
did.
like analytically and you were like, okay, this has some problems. And you saw this like this good movie that you were like, oh, it could have maybe been a little better. And you saw Red One, you're like, it's dumb and it's great for being dumb. But I saw Red One first, and I'd come off the back of seeing some pretty solid movies. And then I go and see Red One. I'm like, this sucks. And then I went and saw Gladiator 2, and the last thing I'd seen was Red One. So I was like, this is fucking incredible.
I thought it was funny. I thought it's funny that they got away with spending this much money on it. I
That's the
thought, yeah,
funniest part.
it was a
Yeah.
ridiculous movie. Yes, but it's for someone going to go see a funny Christmas movie, whatever, to because the holiday seasons are coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that they spent this much money on it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd hate
I
to be the guy delivering the box office numbers to the studio, but I didn't mind like being there in the theater being empty. You know what I mean?
I can't believe this got a theatrical release because this was an MGM movie, and Amazon has bought out MGM, so a lot of their stuff is either going on Amazon Prime or for whatever reason MGM Plus exists. So
MGM Plus is a thing.
yeah, they're putting
Hmm.
out some like shows there and stuff. It's whatever. So yeah, I really thought this would have. I think if this has gone straight to Amazon Prime, it would have been great. Because I feel like when you go see a movie on Amazon Prime and you see Red One, you're like, that's the bar. That's what it is. This was a phenomenal Amazon Prime movie. But when you put it in
You are right.
theaters, that it's a whole different thing. And I think this wasn't supposed to go to theaters initially. I think this got enough star
Ah,
power
okay.
where they were like, okay, we can put this in theaters. But initially, it was supposed to just go to Amazon Prime.
Huh. Interesting. That makes more sense now, considering the type of movie it was. Because Gladiator 2 is meant for
Yes.
theatrical
Yeah.
release, booming soundtrack, like sweeping scenes of the Colosseum and Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Red One was, yeah, you could watch that at home on a evening because you're bored. And why not?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's maybe why we disagree is the order we watch these in. The moral of the story, you can only see one of these movies.
Okay.
Because if you watch one after the other, you end up not liking, or you end up liking the second one. So choose which one you want to, watch. I think you should watch Red One second. Maybe you should watch Gladiator second because that's a better movie, anyways. But it is up to you.
I don't know if that. No, let's make that the big takeaway of this. Always watch a better movie second.
Also, I agree with you that I don't know what we can talk about spoiler wise. Like us, I think, with Gladiator 2, talking about it spoiler free and talking about it with spoilers are very different conversations. With this movie, I don't bring anything into the conversation if I start like bringing up major plot points.
Yeah. There were like four major plot points and none of them mattered in the end. There's a massive
Yes.
plot sequence where they like Chris Evans is a hacker and he is hacked into the North Pole, and he's been hired by a middleman who's been hired by the Christmas witch because she is trying to kidnap Santa, but she needs to get in. But they already had an underground base there, so why did they need to get in? But
I
there's a
see what
big
you're saying.
thing where they
Actually,
like,
that is a crazy plot hole that I can't believe I overlooked.
yeah, I left the theater. I'm like, what? Who wrote this? Because then we have this whole big plot sequence. It's like set on a beach where he's going to confront the middleman who just like hired the Christmas witch hired him to hire Chris Evans. Like they go to find him and be like, okay, who hired you? He can't say, so he writes it in the sand, and they're like, oh, that's genius because he can't say it. And Chris Evans just says like, oh, the Christmas witch, and now we're in a whole big battle sequence with snowmen.
Yes. Well, look, they obviously they have to move the plot along somehow, and like you don't care much about how they're moving the plot along. It's a stupid Christmas movie. Look, I will say from the trailer, you know what my biggest pet peeve of this movie is, besides it being a fantastic movie.
What's
In
up?
the trailer, they open with like I think it's maybe it's J.K. Simmons counting to 500 or someone's counting to
Mm,
500 and he's bench pressing, and then he racks it and he says, "Let's go heavy." And I'm like, "Oh, that's badass. Santa's super strong." In the movie, it's him doing push-ups to 500, then he bench presses like 4 times, which is like whatever, sure, very still impressive, lots of weight. He's a super strong Santa. But I was like, I wanted to see Santa bench press 500 times, man. Come on. And I thought Dwayne Johnson's thing would just be, I thought Dwayne Johnson's things would be he'd be super strong. Instead, he just like sort of goes half size,
Yeah, he's just
which is,
Ant-Man.
like, yeah, exactly.
I did take a note in the theater. Santa burns 4 million carbs every Christmas from all the milk and cookies. How does he do that?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if we're taking it literally in the ending scene, there's no way he gets around the world, right? But it was a fun scene to end on. And you walk out of it filled with Christmas cheer. It's beginning of December. Mission accomplished. Defrost Mariah Carey, right? That's the moral of the story.
I also have a note here where the Christmas witch, I forget who she's played by. She was actually I just watched Twisters on Peacock, and she was in that movie. Kiernan Shipka. I have a note here because she obviously goes and kidnaps Santa Claus. I wrote down in the theater, I just saw Santa bench 435 pounds and he couldn't fight off that little white girl.
Well, she's the Christmas witch. She's Grilla or whatever. Ooh, I said the name. It's
Ooh.
yeah.
Also,
Ooh.
there's a part in
Yeah,
this where
I mean,
Chris.
then Santa was badass at the end, and then she was actually a witch, and then Krampus showed up, and you're like, yeah, whatever, go for it. You know that, like, I care in Gladiator 2. I was like upset when I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, go for it, the plot point. When they're doing it in Red One, I'm like, yeah, okay, do whatever. Yeah, Krampus shows up and slaps his, old girlfriend. Why not? Because I'm having more fun with it than I was
Yeah,
with Gladiator 2.
they have a like they didn't want to fight Krampus. They have like a slap off with them and they cheat, but they escape. It's whatever. I don't even remember what the point of them going there was. But two things I want to hit real quick. There's a part where it's implied that one, Chris Evans is a gambling addict. Same. Two, there's a bit where he's an alcoholic in a bathtub.
Oh, that was crazy. I was the Bullet Bourbon, right? Maybe you should get
Mm,
sponsored by them too. But like, that's a crazy thing to put. That's what I'm saying. Like, the adults in the room on the couch at Christmas are laughing at, and the kids are like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're like, "Oh, don't worry, because they cut to something else." But did they reach out to whiskey companies and we're gonna like have this? Hey, gay guys, like, hey, Jack Daniels, we're gonna have this guy drunk in a bathtub, really depressed, and he hates his life. Do you want your bottle to be on the floor? And then Jack Daniels was like, "What the hell? No." But then I guess Bullet went for it.
yeah. Do you think that
It
scene
was
was
just the
added
craziest.
in?
I can't. I'm not sure that. I mean, there's probably product placement in the car. I can't remember what the car was, but
I don't
I
either.
it was just like the so bold faced product placement in such an odd place to have it that I was like, normally I'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever. They have this. They're driving this car. It's like that scene in is it Endgame when Tony Stark is driving an Audi or something. He does some like weird self-driving thing where it's just so obvious and so jarring that the whole scene is,
Mm.
and it was just like that. Like I'll remember Bullet Bourbon Red One looking back at him.
Do you think that scene was added in because they were like, "Oh, we'll sponsor this movie, but you have to put a scene in," and they're thinking like, "How cool would it be if Santa Claus had a shot of our whiskey?" Instead, the writers were
That
just
would make
like,
me go out and
"What
buy it.
if? What if Chris Evans was a lonely alcoholic in a bathtub and your whiskey was on the floor?"
I would admit it. This movie would be 4 stars if Santa took the shot.
I know if he was
But I don't
bench
know how you would
pressing and
explain that to your
drinking,
kids.
that's probably
If
why
you're
they
watching with
did.
your family, I don't know how you explain that one to the kids.
Yeah. Also, that scene is never touched upon again. It's not his alcoholism isn't solved by the end of the movie. It's not really touched upon before that scene. It's just suddenly he's sad in a bathtub.
Yes. Also, was not an empty bottle. Come on.
He's got to work harder.
He's got
Got
to
to
work
empty
harder.
that thing
Come
out.
on. I wasn't impressed by his alcoholism. Anyway, Josh, I have a question for you.
Hit me with it.
I'm doing the talking now. I'm doing the
Okay.
podcasting.
All right.
What would you rate this movie out of 3 stars?
Oh, one. I would give it
I don't know
fucking
why you.
0 if I could.
I don't know why I expected you to answer with anything other than that. I thought it was a 3. Go see this movie.
Why?
Don't go with any expectations. Go on like a Tuesday afternoon when you're bored. It's a stupid movie, and you waste a couple hours, and you come out of it, and you're like, "Ah, that was funny," and then you go home.
Yeah,
Go for
real
it.
quick. The
Make a
scene that
day out
made
of it.
me give up is clearly The Rock did not want to punch a girl at the very end. So instead, like they turned the Christmas witch into a big CGI monster. But the scene that got me, like to finally give up and just start laughing, was when they're on the runway and the sleigh like hits the side and the Christmas witch falls off. Instead of like just having her free fall down, they had her do like 14 flips on the way down, and it is such a long extended shot of her falling.
So I'm saying we're laughing about it now. It's funny.
I
I
just
don't. Yeah,
I
it's
gave
just a
up at
good
that point. I
time.
was like, I can't anymore. The Rock wants me to take this seriously, and I can't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, did not need to be made. Waste of funds. Good time. I
How
would
much
watch it
money
again.
did this
Maybe
movie
not like the
cost?
day after, but
It
I think it was
genuinely
something in the
floors
range of
me.
like I think it was like 250, maybe $300 million. But
Um,
fact check me on that.
it genuinely floors me
But
that this got a cinematic release, but the Roadhouse remake they did like at the beginning of the year didn't.
that was good. I really like that.
Yeah,
The Roadhouse
this
remake was good.
cost $250 million to make.
Yeah.
Where did that
Okay.
money go?
I think mostly it went to The Rock.
I think you're right. And how much is it grossed? This is from Screen Rant 2 days ago.
I think it was something like 20, 30 million.
It's made $150 million up to this point, so it has lost $100
It's made
million.
$150 million. That's
Yeah,
better
but
than I
then you have
thought.
to account like
I wonder where
Hollywood.
I saw that 30 million stat the opening weekend.
That 250, that's not including like marketing and everything. And this movie had trailers
Hmm.
everywhere. So you have to think this was probably a 400 to $500 million movie, and it has only made
Yes.
150 million.
Look, did someone get fired of this movie? Maybe.
Maybe that
Did I have a
someone
good
definitely got
time?
fired for
Yes.
this.
3 stars. Final. Many people
All
got fired
right,
for this. Final answer though, 3 stars.
man. All right. Should we wrap it up here?
All right.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of The Last Movie Run. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You can find all those channels. If you just look up The Last Movie Run on YouTube, we're at Fourth Dimension Broadcasting, where you can find this episode and many more. We also run a podcast called Trading Paperbacks with Gary Torres and I, all about comic books. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Alex, for coming onto this episode and watching terrible movies.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I know I should be paid for my time actually, having
Yeah,
to sit
you'll never
through.
see a cent. All right. See you, everyone.